In this second episode of NRL Fantasy School for this series, we're going to have to do a little bit of math. I'm sorry. So what we're going to be looking at is player pricing. How is it worked at the start of the season, and how does it work during the season? Now, lucky for you, I'm not going to ask you to do any math yourself, but I'm just going to explain it all to you. Okay. So player pricing at the start of the season, we have players ranging from at the low end, $230,000. So players that are complete rookies coming up through the pathways that are yet to actually debut in the NRL come in at 230,000. Players that are coming in from outside of the outside of rugby league in Australia, say Super League or possibly rugby union, their prices are going to be estimated, so they may not necessarily come in at that rookie value. The next bump up from that, we have players at 250,000. So players at 230,000 are priced at around 16, 17 points. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what I mean by that shortly. Players that are priced at 250,000 generally priced off the top of my head around the 19 point mark. So if a player has played NRL before, even if it's only one game, but their average last year was less than 19 points, the minimum price they can come in to start the season is at 250,000. Okay. For the most part, most players are priced at what their average was last year. So Alec McDonald is be a good case example. He played a pretty full season. It wasn't short games due to injury or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take his starting price and we're going to divide that by his average from last year. So let me just pull up my calculator quickly. Should have had that already open. My bad. Okay, so the numbers we've got are 367,000 divided by his average last year of 28.8. What that gives us is 12,743. Okay, now I'm going to do that again on somebody else. Let's find somebody at a higher price. Let's get somebody up around, yeah. Uh, Not Mitch Mose had injuries. Hopgood. So Jermaine Hopgood, we're going to take his 597,000 divided by his last year average, 46.9. I'm going to get a very, very similar number, 12,729. Okay. So what that actually is what we call the magic number or the dollar per point figure that the season's starting at. So basically all players are being priced at, let's just call it 12,725. Okay. All players are basically being priced at $12,725 a point. Now, again, for most players that had a pretty normal season, that's just going to correspond with what their average last year was. But that's not always the case. So if we let's have a look at a player that had an injury impacted season, Keanu Keeney. Now we can see he's priced at a very, very modest price of $600,000. That's not cheap. But his average last year was only 26.3. So clearly he's not being priced at 26.3. So what we're going to do, this is really important for you to be able to do in assessing players. Take the $600,000 he's opening at. I'm going to divide it by that 12,725. what we get is 47.15. Let's call it 47.2. Okay, so he's actually being priced at about 47.2 points. Now, if you want to use our platform, we make so much of the math in this game so much easier for you. So if we go over to our team builder page, just going to show this to you so you know it's here. If you want to use it, it's a great resource. If you don't, that's fine. So if we pull up Keeney in our team builder, we're showing you that he's priced at 47.1 points straight up. So you don't need to actually worry about any of that at all. We're just serving it to you on a plate. Okay. Our platform will also show you our projections for him and what we see him making or losing over 12 rounds. So all of that stuff we make very easy in that regard if you want to use it. Okay. Now, during the season, that dollar per point figure or the magic number does change. Now, what you need to understand about fantasy, it's a closed system and it's a zero sum gain system, which basically means that whatever dollars players increase by and whatever dollars players drop by always have to be in balance. And because that tends to be dominated by player increases from new players coming into the game, what that actually does is it pulls down, well, what it actually does is it pushes the player break evens higher so that people are making less money and other people are losing more money. And effectively how that is worked is by the dollar per point figure regressing and coming down lower. So while the dollar per point figure at the moment is 12,720, you can guarantee that in 5, 6 weeks' time from now, it's actually going to be lower than that. That's just the way the game goes. Now, you'll hear and you're probably already aware of the term, or if not, if you're an absolute first year player, you're going to be aware of it real soon. Term break even. What a break even is supposed to be is how many points a player needs to make in the upcoming round in order to not change value. Hence, they break even. Okay. But because of the way fantasy works, the actual break evens put out by NRL Fantasy themselves, while they may be pretty accurate at the start of the season, as the season wears on, they start to become a lot less accurate. Now, they just don't do the math well in taking into account the trends in player increases and decreases. So quite often you'll have a player with a break even of 47 and they will score exactly 47 on the nose, and yet they will go up in price by $4,000. And people will say, well, hang on, wasn't their break even supposed to be 47? Okay. Now, over the years, I'm actually a math graduate. So we've been mathematically onto this for a long time, and we actually calculate our own break evens that take into account those trends a lot more accurately. So our break evens in our own platform have been tested against all other break evens put out, anyone else puts out, including NRL Fantasy themselves, and time again have proven to be the most accurate around. Uh, Generally, there's very few players that we're usually off by more than 1, 2 points with. That in turn also makes our price calculators in our platform the most accurate around as well, and also the most flexible around as well. But I'll show those to you in another episode, another day. Don't want to get bogged down in that. Okay, so as the season wears on, we're going to have this regression in dollar per point and we're going to have more stress on player break evens. Now, if you ever want to know what the dollar per point figure is during the season, that's really tricky because you need to do a whole lot more math to actually arrive at that. But we do all that math ourselves again. So if you happen to be using our platform, All you would have to do at any point in time is just come to our analytics page, pick up any player, so say, let's say Homoli. Let's say that we were, let's say that this was round 18 of 2025. All we would do is he's played 15 games, current average of 47.8, got a price down the bottom here of 608,494. These prices are based on whatever the current dollar per point figure in the game is. So all you would have to do is take the current price that we've got in his is for his current season of 608,494 and divide that by his current average for the season, 47.8, and you would get 12,730 being what the current dollar per point figure that our systems actually generated it to be. And of course, it's coming up that way at the moment because at the moment, yeah, well, that is the current dollar per point figure that we have in the game. So the big takeaways from this, um, most players start the season priced at what their average was last year. Not always the case. You always need to be aware of how many points the player is priced at. So, say Keanu Keeney, if you don't know how many points he's actually priced at, you don't really have too much of a gauge of whether that's good value or not good value against what his scoring history's been. So you always need to be able to work that out or be using something like our site that works it out for you. Okay. That's plenty enough math for this. This has probably been a little bit complicated. I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. You may want to just watch this one another one or two times later in the week just to get your head around it. The math is a bit of a pain, but all of the good players understand it. And to be a really good player in this game, it really does help to have a bit of a basic understanding of it. Let's cut it off there, and I look forward to seeing you in episode 3, which I'll probably put out sometime tomorrow.